Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman. We have Harley Ingleby with us. Harley, welcome.
Thank you.
And we're here to talk about the Harley Ingleby Mo Minis, the 610, which is what I'm holding, and the 6.6.
Correct.
First, I want to start off with what led to the Mo Mini, which is your Mo series, the 7.2, the 7.4, and the 8.0. Knockout favorites. People just love those boards. A lot of our customers have one of them. Some of them have two of them. Nothing but rave reviews on that board. A board that's easy to surf well, and really performs well in average conditions. You know, everybody's making these dream boards, you know, that are great, like to take to Indo or Hawaii or something like that. But finally, like, somebody made a good board for like what most people surf every day. And straight up, like, that's the Mo, and it's a really, really good board. Looking at the Mo Mini, tell us about the concept and shrinking these boards down, and then we'll also hit a little bit on construction as well.
Obviously had the opportunity now to scale the boards down with the mid-6 and the Mo, and it was obviously a natural progression of, you know, what we wanted to do, getting a lot of requests to do that. So obviously coming down in length, still paddle really well, but just fit in the pocket that little bit more.
Right.
And it's just, more options. So it's depending on your size or your ability or how much paddle power you really need, depending on your local break or whatever. It's, you know, we've got all the bases really, really covered now. And I wasn't sure how far down we could really call these mids once you start getting down around 6.4 and 6.6, but being a mid mini, you know, so they're just shrunken down versions. But they've scaled incredibly well. And these are definitely a go-to everyday board for me back home when the beaches aren't ideal. Like, they still handle surf really well too. Minus the channels, the bottom and all-round concept of, you know, the rocker and everything, and rail type and everything is, the mid-6 and the Mo is very much the same board. It's just a different outline, and the channel's obviously the mid-6, and the mid-6 we just flip the last foot of the board a tiny bit more, but all of the part that matters and what makes this a great board, the mid-6 and the Mo are basically off the same design. So very trusty, you know, it's proven itself for a long time now, the Mo. So yeah, stoked to have the minis.
Should surfers expect the performance of the Mo Minis to be like in that same kind of wave range as the Mo's, like kind of like your average beach breaks, like your average points, like slopey waves, or does it have like another gear that's like kind of hidden inside of here for like tubes and like kind of steeper stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I very much would be riding the minis in the same waves that I used to ride the 7.2, being the same bottom and rocker type and everything. Like, I've ridden the 7.2, there's been days where I didn't have a mid-6 in the car and pulled up and the beaches were like solid overhead and very heavy and hollow beach break, and the 7.2 Mo handled it perfectly. And I've since had some days on this 6.6 Mo and super wedged, bottomed out kind of waves, and it'll handle, like absolutely can handle. It's always had that gear that people don't really expect it to have. Okay. Obviously if you had the mid-6, just to have that narrower tail, it's going to be a little more stable or easier control in a bowl, but this is very, very capable in those conditions, particularly if you're a guy who rides bigger boards and you're stepping down, it's going to feel money. It's a lot more well-versed, the Mo, than what people probably give it credit. Okay. But it's an absolute weapon in average, you know, everyday stuff. For sure.
Let's talk about fin setup. The 610 and the 6.6 both come FCS 2 5-fin. What's your preferred fin setup and fins that you're using?
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a quad guy. I really, really like the quad. Thankful to be able to introduce a new fin set to suit these minis. Obviously, with the 7.2s and up, I've always recommended my XXL FCS quad set. I feel like the 7.2 Mo is probably the cutoff of where you could probably go either way with the fins. Once you come sub that size down into these, it's this large set. So it comes as a tri-quad. It is just the Reactor tri set paired up with Performer medium rears. Okay. So that was always my favourite combination of fins. I just love the foil of the Reactors. They're an upright looking template, but they've actually got a lot of base. So there's just heaps of drive there when you gas on. And then when you weight off, they're not too raked out, so you can break your lines and stuff like that. For me, you're getting all the length of arc you need out of the long, you know, riding longer rail boards. So the foil and everything to do with that set I've always loved, and the Performer mediums, being an 80-20 quad rear, they're my go-tos. Okay. I did ride the all Reactors, the Reactor medium rears for a bit, but I just found the Performer medium rears were a better all-rounder of that little bit more drive off the back.
On the Mo's, like, it's always been the recommended, I'm talking like the Mo Mo's, not the Mo Minis. It's always been recommended that you go with your extra large quad set. And we've even found that to be the case, like regardless of surfer weight.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Can you explain why is that? Because there's always like a little bit of hesitation, like, oh, I'm not an extra large surfer. Why would I get an extra large fin?
It's a really common question I get off people on Instagram and stuff as well. Yes, it's a lot of fin, but where the fins are on that board and how much volume and size and all of the design, it was based around we were going to put those fins in that board.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So Billy's the master at sort of balancing those things out. That's why it definitely works. I have ridden the 7.2 Mo with these smaller fins. I would say I prefer the XXLs, particularly when the waves are weaker. I prefer the bigger fins, something to push off and generate speed, and it's still such a loose, easy board to turn, even with those really big fins. I often get people also, sort of saying, oh, you're probably 90 kilos or whatever, I'm only 65, like, is that going to be too much? I'm like, no, it's all over volume surfboards.
Yeah.
We're not riding out spot on shortboard dims and all the rest of it. Yes, it's a little bit more over volume for someone that weight, but it's still a very loose, easy board to surf.
Right.
So,
what about the Mo Minis? Are they designed for the large, or would somebody like my size, like 210 pounds, be like putting the extra larges in there?
If you had the extra larges already, I would definitely say throw them in and try it. It's absolutely going to work.
Yep.
One of my team riders, Ezra in Hawaii, I know he's slapped the XXLs in it and he swears by it. For me, when I'm riding the shorter one in particular, I'm trying to get above the lip a little bit if the wave allows. Having a little bit less fin is good for that, drifting the tail and stuff. So whereas I'm on the longer ones, I'm very much just trying to go as fast as I can and just try and lay out as much rail as possible and really enjoy that sort of side of surfing. If you haven't got the sets already, I'd be leaning people this way always.
Towards the large?
Yeah.
Because again, like this is designed for the large and the bigger Mo's are designed for the XXL.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I want to talk about construction. This 610 is Thunderbolt red. The 6.6 that you have is Thunderbolt black.
Yeah.
Who's going to prefer red versus black in this sport?
To be honest, I generally ride the red construction in the Mo. The red construction was always built to be an easier flex. So in lower power conditions, you can generate the spring out of the internal engineering of the Thunderbolt blanks. The red construction is kind of my go-to for everyday surf. Yeah, I've been playing with the black because it also works really well. It takes a little bit more pushing to get that feedback, but the spring off the lip of the black, it's just that little bit more of an instantaneous kind of feeling, and it's very different to any poly or most other board kind of feeling you would experience. But most people, I'd say, everyday surf and hand overhead and stuff, like I always think the red's the perfect all-round construction for this sort of size of board.
Okay.
And for what that Mo's designed for. But
so performance-wise, like lighter surfers,
red for sure.
Yeah, can bend it out.
Yeah.
Without the weight, right?
Yeah, totally.
Softer waves, you could bend out the red sooner than the black, and like actually get the board like feeling good.
Yeah, exactly.
Black, heavier surfers who can load it up.
Yeah.
Better surf.
Yeah, even if the waves are like really small, sometimes you get waves this big, but they've got their own momentum to them.
Yep.
And if you're not trying to really work and get the board up and going, the black's gonna smoke it. It's going to feel amazing. But when you're really like, oh my, I need to get a wiggle on and generate some speed at low power, the red's easier to get it going for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's just say like an 80-20 sense, this kind of fits into the same groove as the Mo, as the original Mo, meaning that it's going to work like an everyday surf.
Yeah, totally.
So what's cool to hear is all that mid-6 influence and the rocker and the performance that's kind of hidden inside this board. So when you do have those good days, you still actually have a board that's going to perform.
A lot of mid-lengths are essentially like shrunken down longboards, where they're built to be a rocker that you kind of need to move up and down the board, like find the trim, get up in the middle, and then when the power's there, step back and turn. Coming from someone who shortboards a lot now, just seeing what was out there, we really wanted to build some mids that you could just stay back and just surf the board, like generate the speed, use the speed from staying near the tail. I move up and down this board still a lot, but you don't need to. You can really stay back and work the board more like a functional shortboard. So I think the way we've distributed the rocker and the foil of the board, it's a bit more from a shortboard performance kind of feel. It's got a real fishy kind of flow to it too, the Mo. It's a really fun board. Definitely performs way better than what the outline and general aesthetic of the board is.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome, Harley. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight on the Mo Minis, Thunderbolt Construction red and black. If any of you out there have any questions on the Mo Minis, or would like to order one, you can always reach us at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surf. And thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.